Welcome, everybody. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. I was so excited when Solange reached out to me and asked me about this opportunity, and of course, I jumped on it immediately. Like she said, I've been with ETS for 9 years, and I have a passion for what I do. It's not only travel, which is one of the most wonderful things in the world to be able to sell, but also it's a ministry for me. So bringing people to the Holy Land to walk in the footsteps of St. Paul and some of the other leaders of the faith is just a life-changing experience for a lot of people. And so I love what I do, and I love helping you guys be able to do the same thing. So a little bit about our company. Let's start from here. I just want to tell you a little success story. So about 5 years ago maybe even a little more now, it's been 6 years, I think, at a conference, I met a young lady, and I gave my presentation, and afterwards she walked up to me and said, I know a pastor, and I'm going to go talk to him tomorrow. And I said, oh, well, all travel agents tell me that they're going to go talk to their pastor after they hear my speech. So, kind of didn't think much of it. And then sure enough, Monday morning, she gave me a call and said, my pastor's on board. He wants to put a trip together. And the next year, she brought a group of, I think it was 56 to the Holy Land, and her commission was around $45,000. So a great commission for one tour for an agent. So when we were in the Holy Land, she got to talking to the pastor, and he said, I love this trip. Where I've always wanted to go is South Africa. So sure enough, by the time they got back, they gave me a call and said, we'd love to put the trip together for South Africa. And in 2016, I was able to travel with that group. They had over 60, and her commission for that trip was $75,000. All because she reached out to her pastor, and he pretty much did the work for her. So on that trip, I was in South Africa with them, and he said, I've got a friend who's a jazz musician, and I would love to get him on a cruise with me. And so we got to talking, and I said, okay, let's do a cruise for you. And his friend happened to be the great jazz musician Kirk Whalum. So we put him on a cruise along with this pastor, and they got over 100 people, and she made $125,000 commission. So this is also can be a very lucrative path if you take, if you make the contacts, if you are passionate about it and make this your niche. It's not only changes lives, but you can also make good money. So I hope that gets people excited and get their wheels turning a little bit here to start. So a little bit about ETS. We were founded by a young pastor in 1974. He had traveled to the Holy Land for his first time, and while he was over there, he just said it was life-changing, that he had learned so much from just a few weeks in the Holy Land, about as much as he had learned his whole time in seminary. So that's when he decided he wanted to bring more pastors and their church members back to see the Holy Land, and he started our company. Today, we bring over 5,000 people a year on faith-based cruises, and over 10,000 people a year to the Holy Land. And that number is actually a lot more. Last year we had over 15,000, and it just continues to grow and grow as, Israel's not seen as an unsafe place like a lot of places these days. The amazing fact is only 2% of pastors have ever been to the Holy Land. So this is a wide open market. That's the first question you're going to ask when you talk to your pastor. If you are going to a church, just ask them if they've ever been to the Holy Land. It's a great conversation starter, and we'll get into more about that later. But the Holy Land is life-changing for pastors and their congregation. So I'm just going to go over our number one selling itinerary. This is what about 10,000 of our passengers went on last year out of our 15,000 that went to Israel. It starts off, so it's an overnight flight, typically from New York, but there are several cities now that have direct departures. So you can fly direct from IAD, San Francisco, Miami. They're talking about opening up a couple more flights to Tel Aviv because it is such a popular destination these days. You arrive the next day in the Holy Land. We transfer you to your hotel in the Galilee, where you stay the night. And then your first day of touring, you wake up and you're going to go to the Sea of Galilee, get on a boat like it's pictured here. We take it out to the middle of the water. We turn off the engine, and the pastor is able to lead his congregation in praise and worship right there in the seas. So you are standing on the waters that Jesus walked, or no, you're not standing on the water. You're riding on a boat on the very waters that Jesus walked on, and being able to praise right there on the first day. It's just an amazing experience to start your Holy Land journey. A couple of the other highlights of the Galilee region where you'll spend a couple of days is going to the Mount of Beatitudes, where Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount, and going to the Jordan River, where we allow everyone the opportunity to get baptized. Obviously, another highlight is Bethlehem. You'll actually go down to this spot pictured here, where this is the very spot traditional says that Jesus was born, in the cave. You also go to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus prayed the night before he was taken to be crucified. The upper room, and then the holy city of Jerusalem. We'll visit the Western Wall, and you can take prayers from people back home and put them in the cracks in the wall. Then we'll take you down the Via Dolorosa, which is, the pass where Jesus walked on his final day, down to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is one of the two traditional spots they say Jesus was crucified and buried. And then you'll end your tour at the Garden Tomb, which is the other spot where they say he was buried, where you'll have a communion service and prayer. So throughout this whole tour, it's all a spiritual experience. So your tour guide that you'll have, we have the best in the business. They've all been through a very lengthy interview process. They know the ins and outs of the land. They know that our pilgrims are there to have a life-changing experience, and that's what they're focused on. They know the biblical significance of the sites, and of course, the historical significance of the sites. So your pastor doesn't have to worry about any of that. He's going to be there for the spiritual aspect. They say once you visit, you'll never be the same. You read the Bible in color instead of black and white. So how many of you guys know a pastor or you go to a church? So when I do this presentation at conventions, I'd say about 80 to 90% of people raise their hands. And how many of you have ever asked your pastor or church leader, could be a priest, a rabbi, any spiritual leader, I keep saying pastor, I think that's the easiest word for me to use, but any spiritual leader, a choir leader, a Bible study teacher, all of these make great leaders for these trips. And the thing is, people don't reach out to them. And when I ask this question in conventions, you get 3 or 4 hands up out of a few hundred. So how to be successful in faith-based travel is to go after these group leaders. Of our business, of the 15,000 people that we brought to Israel last year, less than 5% of them came as individuals without a pastor or a priest or group leader. So it's all group leader driven niche. So what we propose is that you go and ask your pastor if he's ever been to the Holy Land. Basically, it's going to go one of 2 ways. No, I've never been. I've always wanted to go. Of course, that opens the door for you to say, well, let's further the conversation. Or, yes, I have been. It was life-changing. And then you can open up, well, would you like to go again and lead our church? Of course, some of them are traveling now, and we can talk on an individual level how to get to those. Some people who aren't as involved in the church or go to a large church where it's hard to get in with the head pastor, I always say, reach out to family or friends that are involved in their church. A lot A lot of people have some kind of relative that's a church leader or, neighbor. I mean, there's churches all around us. We all know that. So there's lots of opportunities out there. Clergy are busy. So really you just want to ask for a few minutes of their time, 15 minutes for a conference call. The wonderful thing is what we love to do is if you can get a little time for a conference call, we'll get on a 3-way call with you and the pastor and help you make the sale. Because we know most of you have never been to Israel and it's hard to sell when you haven't. But we can talk them through the whole process. And it's very rare that we get on a call with you and the pastor and it doesn't end up leading into a trip. Supplies that we make available to you as a faith-based travel guide. We just printed the 2019-2020 that goes through about September of 2020. So at the end of this, I'll tell you how you can go online and order some of those materials. And then we have what's called the Expand Your Ministry. And this is a flyer, a 4-page nice flyer that tells all the reasons why a pastor should go. And I'm about to tell you those reasons. So in the 15 to 30 minute conference call we'll help you make the sale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the benefits to this pastor of why he should bring his church to the Holy Land. For the pastor, it strengthens their sermons and it develops church leadership. So one of the things that our founder, who I spent a few years with before he passed away a few years ago, would always tell me is that when he went over there, that first group he brought, he didn't know that he had an accountant in the group that ended up coming back and helping him with the books. That he had someone who was great with kids that wasn't volunteering with the kids, but after he traveled with them to Israel, spent time with them, they came back and headed up his children's ministry. So he found leadership by leading this trip. He got to know the people better, and they came back and became church leadership. For the church, it's very beneficial because of what I just said. People, when they travel together, they become more connected. They become more of a community, so they're more willing to volunteer, to get involved in the church. And of course, they end up tithing more because they feel more of an attachment to the church. And for individuals, it does strengthen their faith. It becomes concrete when you can actually see these places and not just read about them in a book where they're you may believe the words, but it still seems kind of like a distant thing. It increases people's ability to share the gospel. Also, I'll tell the pastor about what their role is and what the agent's role is and what ETS's role is. So the pastor, he needs to know that he's only going to have to spread excitement. He's not going to get involved in all the little details of the trip and making sure everybody has a passport. That's your job. The pastor just needs to get up to the pulpit and say, listen, I'm going to the Holy Land. Who wants to go with me? He needs to put in the church bulletin, we're going to the Holy Land. Just get excited about it. Nothing else. And during the trip, he's only going to be there for prayer and devotions. Like I said, the tour guide is going to be giving all the details. He's just going to be able to enjoy it and then lead, do what he does best and lead the people spiritually. Agent's role, your role is going to be obviously to take payments, passports, and just make sure everything is in order. Very important thing I missed on this slide. The pastor is going to travel free for every 10 people. So you get one for 10 TCs. So every 11th person you register is, when 11th person registers, you'll have one free. Obviously, you want to give the pastor the first free. He's the one that's going to be getting the people for you. If he's married, you're going to want to give him the first 2 frees. If he gets 20 people for you, give him and his wife a free trip. After that, to incentivize the pastor to get more people, I still say give the pastor all the frees. So if he gets 30 and he only wants to bring him and his wife, give him that extra credit. So if it's a $3,500 trip, for every 10 people, he's going to get a $3,500 credit. If he gets 30, give him the $3,500 credit. Incentivize him to get more people for you because you're going to be making it up in commission. And the average commission on a group of 30, not counting free trips, is $15,000. So what's important on this conference call that we have with the pastor is going to be to pick an itinerary and a date. The Holy Land Classic itinerary we went through, that's the one I'm going to be concentrating on first. We have a few other itineraries that if they've been there before, I'll kind of direct them to. There is also a Bible Land Discovery tour that is an 8-day tour and a little bit more less expensive. So that might be for smaller churches or people who can't get away as long, be a better option. But I'll help work through all that with you and the pastor if we get a conference call. And what do we supply? We supply personalized brochures. So what this means is once we get that pastor to commit, we're going to make a brochure that says, join Pastor Smith on the Holy Land Tour, traveling January 1st to the 10th, 2020. It's going to have the price. If he's from Chicago, it's going to have the price from Chicago. It's going to be a very personal brochure. We like to take his picture and put it on the front. That way, if that brochure is laying on a table at the church, people see the pastor's picture, they're more willing to pick it up. We can make bulletin inserts. We have wonderful videos that you can share on social media. We can create posters for the church. So any kind of marketing materials we supply you with, so we can supply the pastor with, so he can promote and get you a group. So on top of the Holy Land, we do a lot of different programs for different reasons. Bible Land cruises, two different ones that are main. The Journeys of Paul cruises usually visit like Athens and Corinth, Rome, Ephesus, so all places that Paul preached. We all operate all of our own excursions, but we usually use the major cruise lines. So it would be like a Royal Caribbean cruise that visits these ports, and then when you're in port, we'll have our excursions with the faith-based guides to give that kind of significance to the tour. And the days at sea will have some kind of biblical scholar or leading faith-based speaker to speak while at sea. We also do faith-based cruises like marriage retreats, women's retreats, a lot of Christian Europe. So the Methodists like to do the Wesley Heritage in England, or the Lutherans do a Reformation tour. We have a ton of different Catholic tours for different places, shrines they visit. I guess, I was sad to see the Cathedral of Notre Dame in France be burned the other day. I got to visit that one a couple years ago. And, I think that's a place that all people can feel for, not just Catholics. So it was sad to see. And then, like I told you about the pastor that went to South Africa. So anywhere that a church wants to go, we can arrange that for you. Travel agent benefits, we offer 15% commission. And we're talking about the whole package. It includes airfare. There are non-commissionable taxes and things like that, but it is a pretty good commission per person, as you saw. And then the 1 for 10 TCs that you want to offer to your group leader. Again, the average commission is $15,000. So what I suggest is you go on to etstours.com. You click to sign up to become an agent. That will give you access. It'll immediately, as soon as you submit off your information, send you out a welcome email that will give you access to Agent's Corner. Back there, you can view our webinars, which we do live webinars. We have like a news studio that will have live webinars in. It'll give you access to all the marketing material. So you can print out single page flyers that you can type your information on and print them out to use. Just all the marketing materials and tools that you need. It also gives you access to FAMs. So we've done quite a few already this year. The only one we have left is the Holy Land in December. That one starts at $16.98 it's an 8-day tour. It's all inclusive from New York. All of our tours are pretty much all inclusive. So they include round trip international airfare, breakfast and dinner daily, 4-star hotels, all your guided sightseeing and touring. So they are all-inclusive packages. So this is your homework. This is what you got to do. You got to take action. Go and find your group leader, your pastor, your priest, rabbi, whoever the spiritual leader is, and reach out to them and ask them if they've ever been to the Holy Land. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions as soon as I figure out how to give it back over here to Solange.
Okay, so in your in the participants at the bottom, you'll see my name. Just click on that. I think there's like 3 dots or whatever. Just click on that and give control or something like that.
Let's see. Make host.
Yeah, make host. There you go.
There we go. All right, should be back to you.
Yep, got it. Thank you. All right, so any questions for Paul? Anything at all? Type your questions in the chat. Oh, Karen says, everybody's excited, Paul. Thank you. Karen says, this is so awesome. She can't wait to ask her pastor. Marquita says, the awesome presentation. Yes. So guys, again, type your question. Marquita asked, can you do a Hindi tour?
Hindi, we have done lots of tours to India. I can definitely look into that for her. I'm sure we can. Just never done it before.
Okay. All right, and Paul, would you mind if I provide your contact information?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'll do that after this call. Who else? Great presentation, all my questions answered. How does this work for schools?
You know, we've done lots of college trips. A lot of seminaries will travel with us. Even some high school. It really doesn't. We're not really set up to do any younger than that. But definitely, you know, older kids can do the maturity level of the tour.
Okay, great.
And I mean, you can provide the teacher, obviously, with the TC the same way the pastor, if they're the ones leading the group.
Any Muslim tours to the Middle East?
We've done them to Israel. We don't have any contacts to do Mecca, so that's not, but we have set up one before to Israel. See, Zoe is asking about guides in different languages. Yes, we can get a guide in just about any language. We have done Chinese tours. We do a lot of Spanish tours, German. So yes, most languages we have tour guides that can handle.
Awesome. I know one of our agents, Natasha, she may have spoken to you guys in the past, maybe while you were running a promotion, but her question is, do you still offer $500 to an individual that gets you a meeting with the pastor?
Yeah, we used to have a like a referral program like that. We kind of got rid of it because people were taking advantage of it. So yeah, we kind of got rid of that program. I guess on special cases we can still bring it out if it's necessary, but for the most part we've just done away with that.
Awesome. Kathy says, I love this. I know tons of churches, friendships with many pastors. This is great. Kathy, I think you found another niche. Another one from Zoe. She says, how do you approach them when you do not belong to that church?
You know, it is tougher, Zoe, because basically pastors want to put their people in their congregation in the hands of someone that they can trust, and it's kind of hard if you don't know them. You know, I always say, you know, or I've had, what should I say? I've had agents that are able to do this, that build a niche just off of this. You know, if they're someone that people just automatically trust, they come and they'll bring them a bagel in the morning and just spend a few minutes with them, and then do that a few times to build trust. That's how you got to do it. But, you know, obviously You just look like a salesperson coming in there, you're not gonna get any time with the pastor.
All right, Natasha, another question from her. How do we go about setting up those 3 ways with you and the pastor?
Yeah, I mean, the pastor is the hard one. We're pretty open. If you get a time from a pastor, we'll try to make ourselves available. Obviously, easiest for us during business hours, but it's 9:30 here on the East Coast, and I'm still working, so it's not a big deal. If that's the only time the pastor can do it, we'll make ourselves available. And I think they said, how much notice do you need? If it's business hours, you can tell us the same day. I mean, you could just say, hey, I just talked to a pastor. He's ready to do it now. If it's after business hours, we need a little more time to prepare. This is good because I was able to get the kids in bed before the webinar, but we do need a little time if it's after hours. I see Zoe asking about works better to call them or walk in. If you don't know them, a call or an email or a package is never going to, get past the secretary. If it's someone, obviously any kind of business, I think it's best in person. If you can get a few minutes with the pastor to talk to them and build that rapport, I think that's always better.
Well, the marketing materials that you guys designed for put together for the churches, are those free, or is there a cost?
No cost. So once you have that pastor, we're happy to put that flyers together. We don't do it without having that group leader because we know it's just not successful. We have lots of agents calling us and saying, yeah, I'm going to put this tour together, but honestly, without the pastor, it just doesn't work. But once you have that, we're happy to put them together for free, no cost. We'll send you out 200 copies in the electronic version, and we'll help you.
Okay. Cool. And so you combine air with the tour, correct?
Correct. So our package is typically based out of New York, and then we have add-ons from all over. For instance, I know from here in Florida, $298 from Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. I think it's usually $398 more than the New York price from LA or San Francisco. So we can pretty much base it out of any city in the U.S.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that would have been my follow-up question. Awesome. Natala Carlos, what is a good way to reel the pastor in to be a group leader?
Yeah, and it's the benefits I talked about earlier, just telling them about the ministry. So definitely let us send you our materials that have the Expand Your Ministry, and it just talks about how beneficial it is, how people become more of a community when they travel together. They give more to the church and become more connected to the church. That's what's most important to the pastor. And then you just throw the cherry on top that they travel for free if they can get 10 people. And that usually seals the deal.
Where do we order brochures to visit with the pastors to spark an interest?
Yep, you go online to etstours.com, go up to Agents Corner and click sign up to become an ETS agent. And then we'll get those materials right out to you. On there, if you need, typically the welcome packet has one catalog and one of each of the materials, but just put on there, five copies, please, and we'll send them all out to you.
Can you base a trip from Bermuda?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
And I see Natasha is talking about the Passion Play. Yes, I didn't talk about the Passion Play. So the Passion Play is a play in Oberammergau, Germany, that when the Black Plague happened over 400 years ago, this town in Oberammergau, Germany, prayed that if God would spare them from the plague, that they would put this Passion Play on every 10 years. So for 400 years now, they've put this Passion Play on every 10 years. So it is the most popular and obviously longest going Passion Play in the world. and we have over, I think, 6,000 people already signed up for next year. It only goes every 10 years, so 2020 is the big year for that. So it is really big. It's mostly bigger, I would say, with mainline denominations. So a lot of Catholics, Lutherans, Methodist, Episcopals are going to it. I don't find that the non-denominational churches or some of the evangelical churches are as big at going to the play. But for the main line denominations, if you have churches they might be interested in that.
And agents go along with the group?
Yeah, they don't have to. So we have hospitality staff over there that's going to greet them at the airport and get them to their hotel, and the guide will be with them the whole time. They're very, very well taken care of. So I would say a lot of agents don't go, but obviously if this is a trip that you want to go on, absolutely you can. We don't have like a special agent rate because we do put in the TCs and try to keep the price down as low as possible for the group. But or if it's a really large group, obviously I suggest that yes, you go, because those relationships that you build are going to be future business for you. Mm-hmm. But I would say most agents don't go with their groups unless they're part of the church, and obviously that's they want to go along.
Great. Kathy says the travel package you spoke of with all the details is that for when you're ready to book the church group, or is that informational material for agents only?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. I know we have two different things. So once you sign up as an agent with us, we're going to send you a welcome packet that's going to have, our faith-based travel guide, which is a magazine with all of our products. It's also going to have the Expand Your Ministry with the reasons the pastor should go, and a couple other materials. And then once you have the church, we're going to create a personalized brochure just for that church to promote the tour. So we have two different things there.
Okay, so you don't have marketing materials up front that we can just go around and say, hey, pastor, this is the information that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be what we call the faith-based travel guide, the faith. Yes, and that's what you take to the pastor and allow him to look through.
Oh, so that's the travel guide that once we register as travel agents, that's what's mailed to us?
Correct.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What else is included in the destinations with the Passion Play tour?
So on the Passion Play, we have several different options. We have like a Holy Land Passion Play combo. We have a River Cruise and Passion Play combo, Switzerland in the Passion Play. So if you're interested in the Passion Play, go on to etstours.com, and to find the trip tab, you'll see all the Passion Play options there. We have a lot of them. We have great videos and marketing material for that as well. Let's see. Someone's asking the average for a trip. Mm-hmm. The Holy Land, it varies greatly from low season to high season. So December, basically the poles of the year, January and December are the lowest seasons. For an 8-day, it's close to 2,600. The 10-day for those times are close to 3,000. And as you go towards the summer, the price goes up. So by the time you're in July and August, the prices for an 8-day, actually for the 8-day, we don't usually offer the 8-day over the summer. The 10 days around 3,700 starting price over the summer. And that's all due to airfare. That's basically 2,500 would be the starting, and 3,000 is probably the average.
So the catalog is really nice, the travel guide. When I got mine, I just kind of sat here and went through it and wishing I was actually going on these tours. I'm looking at one, for example, the Africa Adventures with Bishop Leonard Fairley. These are trips, tours that you guys put together, or they were put together by the group and you're advertising it for them?
Those are all trips we put together. Now there are a couple, I will say, that travel agents have brought us, big people who they wanted marketed on a larger level, like the Lap Your Way to a Better Marriage cruise was brought to us by a travel agent. So they put a group together themselves, but they also let other agents to market to it because they just liked the exposure that would get from all the agents. So, but most of them are just things we put together and let everybody sell into.
Okay, cool. Do you guys do payment plans?
So the payments that we require is an initial deposit of $300, and then the final payment is due 3.5 months prior to departure. We typically suggest you put together trips 12 to 18 months in advance, and then you can create any kind of payment plan you want for your people. We have agents that are happy with taking, monthly payments, but some agents are like, that's too much work. Let's just do 2 payments and be done with it. So it's kind of up to you, and we can put whatever kind of payment you come up with on the brochure.
Okay.
Asking about cruises. They are a little bit higher, I would say. Starting, they're typically a little bit longer too. I think the cruises average 12 to 15 days. They usually start in either Athens or Rome. Either go round trip Rome or Athens to Rome. I think the starting price these days is somewhere like $3,500 and go up to over $4,000, depending on the cabin category. But like I said, they're on Royal Caribbean and Celebrity and Azamara ships.
And you do waterway, right? The river cruises as well?
Absolutely. So we actually, for the Passion Play in 2020, we already have 8 full charters for the Humber Waterway river cruise Passion Play combo. And we do a lot of different river cruises, which is funny because most of them are not necessarily faith-based, but we put faith-based speakers on there. And, obviously Humber Waterways is just an amazing product. So.
Are your one from Kathy, I was just about to read it. Are your retreats prepared already with itineraries and activities, or does the group leader put it together and you include the travel itinerary?
So for the marriage retreats and women's retreats, how we have it set up is during the days at sea is when we'll have the sessions. And typically we do 2 sessions during each day at sea. And then we allow people either free time in ports, or some of the speakers will do special things like missions. So in Cozumel, we have an orphanage there that, if the group wants to do it together, they can go visit the orphanage. But for the most part, for the days at sea, we let people enjoy their days the days in port, we let people enjoy their days in port. And then when they're at sea was when we'll do the retreat part of it. It will already be put together. Again, there are travel agents who have brought us groups that they wanted to do. They talked to a pastor and wasn't necessarily ready to do the Holy Land, but wanted to do a retreat, and we can help put that together. But for the most part, it's just, especially if it's like a 5 or 6 day cruise out of for the Caribbean, it's just not necessary for us to get involved for a group of 30 or 40. If it's going to be a huge group, then we can help necessitate the meeting space and putting the deposit down with the cruise lines and those kind of things.
Any other questions, guys? This was really good. You guys kept Paul engaged. This is awesome.
Great questions.
Yeah.
And listen, I know, some of you probably have questions, but more on an individual level. So I can go ahead and give you my phone number, or really anybody at ETS. We're a good team. We all work together there. So we're all happy to help and answer questions. So ETS's number is 1-800-929. Here, I can type it in. That's probably the best way. That's our number. And feel free to give us a call and we'll help you on your individual questions.
Well, this was awesome. Paul, thank you very much for, joining us tonight on our locker room call and really giving us this awesome information. I know everybody's excited about it. We're ready to go out there and sell Holy Land tours and everything else in between. So thank you very much for being here tonight. And
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll definitely be in touch with you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, good night, Paul. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and close this call out. Thanks again for joining us. And I'm super excited, guys, because I think I found my niche. And I've been searching for it, honestly. But this is really cool. So thank you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your week. And we'll be talking with you soon. Good night.